Okay, hi. Um, History of the transfer. So, for fall semester freshman year, I chose to focus on symphony as my class, symphony orchestra, because that was really my first ever experience playing that kind of music. We started out like day one, William Tell Overture, and it was a shock. It was illuminating to me that first day that I was like, oh, I have not played anything like this ever. I didn't even know how to I didn't know what a ricochet bow was. I just walked in and was like, oh my gosh, this is another level. I had done like mid-state once, and honestly, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gotten a single note, honestly, because the symphony music's just very different. And I think I've been thinking a lot, because obviously, I mean, I've done symphony for 4 years at this point and grew a lot. So I've been thinking about how I can kind of prepare kids to have those skills to be able to approach whatever music they want to play with a level of success. Because obviously, like, school music and like pedagogical music is a bit different than your standard classical repertoire that you're gonna see in college or even at mid-state at a youth symphony or anything. And there are going to be a lot of kids that might want to do that, and setting them up for success, I think, is important, because sometimes that can be hard to do, especially in a small school string only ensemble. Okay. Spring semester freshman year, I really liked my intro to music history class. I don't really know if anybody else liked it because it was late at night and we just got lectured at, but I found it really interesting, especially because my professor for that class really focused on the like why of everything, and the kind of overlap and story of music history, and I found it really interesting, especially to kind of try and conceptualize and rationalize why music developed the way that it did. Because I knew some music history coming into school, but I'd never known or thought about, like, okay, well, why did Baroque music start this way? If we look at the historical context, and why did it eventually end up being this, like, 20th century mess, modernist mess that we have now? And like just kind of what caused it to progress in that way. I think that was like really cool to learn about. He also talked about like popular music history, what I thought was cool because we haven't really gotten a chance to do, and we're at Belmont, like popular commercial music's like a big thing here, and we never really get that side of history, but it was really cool to learn about. We learned about blues and how that evolved into jazz and country music and popular music and all this stuff, and it was interesting. And I think that also gave me an idea of how I might want to teach kids music history, because I know obviously we don't want to like lecture and be like Beethoven, yada yada yada, and get in the weeds of these things because the kids don't really care. But I think if you craft a story kind of like that class did for me, and also relate it to things that are happening currently, I think that's a good way to make kids engaged, and encouraging them to think about it that same way, I think could be effective. Fall semester, this is where it gets interesting. Fall semester sophomore year, I chose string methods as my class because obviously Miss Miller that was when she still taught that class, and that was really my first that and intro were the things that made me really realize that music ed was probably the thing for me, Because honestly, being in that string methods class, and all of us are on different instruments, and some people had never played a string instrument before, and we were playing like beginning orchestra music, it really reminded me of when I started playing my freshman year and why I loved it and what it was like, and the fact that I just always kind of wanted to make that environment and be in that environment of beginning orchestra kids. And so that was really fun, and it taught me a lot about strings that I didn't really know before, because I'd always been a learner, if that's a learner, a student of the string world of viola, but I'd never necessarily thought about it from the teacher side until that class. So that was really enlightening. And Miss Miller, I love her. I love that in that class she kind of made us form a community with one another, because when I look back at that class, that's like the number one thing I remember, is I really feel like that's one of the first times that like all of us instrumentalists, like me, Meg, Will, everybody, even like Yana and Kara when they were in there, we all kind of bonded in that class and just had a fun time in there. And that class was late at night. It was like 6:30 to 8:45 on a Tuesday. We were all exhausted and tired, but we were all happy in that class and having a good time, because she really made us excited to learn. So that's something, and obviously I've learned student teaching with her as well. Big thing is just making it a fun time, making learning a fun time. Spring semester of sophomore year, this is where it gets really good, because I took percussion methods with Miss Comer, and that one of the best classes I've taken in my personal journey. One of the best classes I took, because first of all, aha moment, made me realize that I love playing percussion, like truly love it. And I really liked like all my methods classes. Like I liked learning how to play the French horn. I thought the French horn was cool, but I never was like, I'm gonna be a French horn player. But like in percussion methods, I was instantly like, I need to do this for the rest of my life. Like I need to keep learning how to do this, just like viola. Like they're equal to me. And that was also at the time when I was in cello lessons, and I hated cello lessons, and viola lessons were also getting pretty difficult for me, so I was feeling just really down about music and really kind of uninspired in my own music playing. And Miss Comer really just kind of made me remember what was fun about music, and that was something that I loved about that class in particular, was kind of just the exploratory nature of it, and just being like, here's a vibroslap. Isn't it cool? This is so cool. Like, you can just play this, and it's awesome sounding. Like, just random things like that of, like, and that's something that I want to do, is, like, get kids just excited, no matter what age they are. And just being like, how cool is it that you just get to rub horsehair on metal, and it makes a sound? Like, that's pretty cool. And it's not necessarily about the extravagant things that you may play or the impressiveness of what you play. Really, at the end of the day, it's just cool. It's just cool that you even get to play this stuff, and you should always go back to that. So love that class. That was a great class for me. Fall semester junior year, elementary methods was another great class that I really liked. I was actually talking with Meg about this today. I loved just kind of, after leaving that class, we were all humming the songs and they got stuck in our heads, and I was still thinking about like the folk dances we do, like just everything we would do in that class was fun. And it was quite an enlightening class for me because my elementary music experience was pretty poor, I would say. Like, we didn't really learn much in that class, I would say. Like, we did recorder, but I couldn't say that I like learned recorder kind of thing. We learned songs to sing, but it wasn't learning music. And so this class made me realize, wait, that's how it should be. That's obvious. That's what we should be doing in music class. Why wasn't that even a thought in my head? Just based on my own experiences, it just wasn't. And so that was really eye-opening. I'm not the most elementary focused person. But if I ever did take an elementary job, I do feel like that class really made me still interested in elementary music for sure. Like, that would still be so fun. I love folk dancing. If I ever taught an elementary class, we would be folk dancing. And even outside of elementary music, it taught me a lot about like scaffolding and how to really just like build knowledge from the ground up, especially with things that we as music majors now just know as a given. Like, yeah, that's a half note. It's 2 beats. A kid's not gonna know that. And sometimes we gotta figure out how to explain those things that come kind of more naturally to us. Okay, spring junior year, diverse learners. This class has actually been really useful lately, at Brentwood Middle. I would say the big aha moment for me in this class was that teaching students with diverse needs is not that intimidating, because I think I kind of went into the class and went into the whole teaching experience thinking like, oh, if I have a student, because obviously I really want to be effective for all students, and including students that might need more supports. So I went into it kind of really thinking like, oh, I'm stressed, like I want to be really great at this, like I really don't ever want to make any kid feel less than, like I'm just kind of scared of doing something wrong. And I think through kind of like the internship work that we did in like Gigi's Playhouse and Music and Fun Day and stuff like that, I really realized it's not that intimidating. Like, you certainly do like adapt your instruction depending on who you're teaching, obviously, but beyond that, you really just teach. You just teach, and it's not always going to look the same as it would with, other groups of students, but you still just teach. You just teach the music, and I think that kind of just made me calm down from it. Currently, I've been transferring it, and if you're listening, this is, I don't want to say a cry for help, that's a little intense, but just kind of a concern slash situation that you would, I'm sure, be interested in. We've had a lot of problems at Brentwood Middle with this one particular kid, but it's a few of them, but it's this one particular kid. I am no psychiatrist, but I have common sense, and this kid has really bad ADHD, like really bad ADHD. And from what I hear, his parents don't really want to diagnose him with ADHD, so he's just kind of not getting the help that he really needs. But he has really bad ADHD, and it's hard to, because this is in our guitar class, it's hard to sometimes adapt for him, because I think he gets defensive since he is a few steps behind everybody else. His kind of way of coping with that is to almost feign incompetence. Like, we form a D chord and everybody else can do it great and he can't, so he can. It's just slower is the thing. But since it's not as immediate, he thinks he's not good at it, so he just goofs off instead. And he's like, oh, look at me, I don't know what I'm doing, ha 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 ha. And it's sad, first of all, because again, he can play the D chord. I have seen him play these chords correctly and well. It's just a little slower. And it's hard to kind of like reach him at times, especially because me and Mr. Rubisky have very kind of just different styles of dealing with this student. So yeah, because he does cause like some management problems, but I think they mostly stem from the ADHD at the center of all of it. And it makes me think back to when I did that project on ADHD with like my roommates. I actually talked to them about it the other day. So that's a big transfer for me right now. And then fall senior year, I think to me, well, there were quite a few good ones. There were quite a few good ones senior year. Or senior last semester. It feels like it was a long time ago, but it was just last semester. Lifespan was actually a really helpful class. I get really interested in like understanding the psychology of things in the first place. Like, that kind of clicks with me. It makes sense to me and helps me kind of understand things at times. So understanding specifically like developmental stages and psychologies and stuff that happen, like who was it, Erickson, and oh my gosh, I'm blanking on their names now, but like some of those other kind of like age-based things of like, okay, elementary, this is kind of the progression, middle school, this is kind of the progression, high school, this is kind of the progression. Generally speaking, those ones I thought were really interesting because then you can kind of approach these different age groups with an appropriate understanding of their behavior, what they're going through, what they're probably thinking, how they're probably approaching situations, and what they need is, like, most importantly, what they need. So that's something that's kind of been with me going from Hume Fogg to Brentwood Middle, because obviously dealing with high schoolers, like, I mean, I had students that were like 18 about to go to college at Hume Fogg. Very different from 6th graders who were just finishing their first year in a middle school. So kind of figuring out why those differences are there and what we can do about them. I like to kind of think analytically about it, and obviously I'm still kind of no expert, so yeah. And then I don't know, are we supposed to do a transfer for student teaching? Because there's plenty I could say, but yeah, I mean, I'm still in the thick of it right now. I do definitely think there's a lot of transfer that will be had in the future from student teaching to my own classroom, specifically in regards to classroom management, because that is one thing, probably the thing that Brentwood Middle has taught me, is it's kind of challenged me to think about, what am I gonna say on the first day of school? What are my rules gonna be? What is my classroom management style gonna be? Because honestly, at Hume Fogg, loved Hume Fogg. The kids there were angels. They were angels and I loved them. But they were angels. So I never really had to, like, you know, find that instilling of sternness and slight fear in the student. Just enough fear to get them to understand what's going on. and what's needed of them. So Hume Fog, I didn't have to do that quite that much, but Brentwood, quite a bit. So it's really made me think about, what am I going to do in August? You know, first day. What am I going to say to make sure that I'm not shooting myself in the foot for the rest of the school year? So that's more of an in the future thing. But yeah, so I will say it was weird to look back on the classes I took my freshman year, because I realized, not that I didn't remember any of them, I definitely did, but I was like, the most memorable ones were like sophomore year onward. But yeah, those are my transfers, plus about a million more, I'm sure.